Let's get into it with, in my opinion, the greatest lyricist of our 6th seed. It is Des and Ace. Lead us through it, guys.
The thing, Tim.
The thing?
Set it on the thing.
Set it on the thing.
I don't know why that's tickled me so much, but it's proper going. Oh, we're in for a good evening, Tim. We are in for a very...
It's already started.
God's sake, man. Oh, right. Let's talk about the game.
Come on, get on with the thing.
Oh, let's get on with the thing. Yeah, that's what the thing now. Oh, it's a ban. That's what it's called. That's the one. Now, looking back at last stage, these two teams actually played each other on Club, Tim, which I think for me is a real good sign that half a year ago, I think both of them was when they last won this map. To have played each other before, they at least have a good idea about what to expect from the other. But there's always going to be new things. It's a new stage, new strategies, new ideas. And I'm really keen to see what comes out with it. Monty going to be our first ban, surprising absolutely no one, knowing that Kendrew stands on the other side.
Yeah, just how powerful the shields are at the minute as well. It all leans in towards each other, and we end up with a Monty ban. Second attacker will be Maverick. Not too out there for Clubhouse. Fairly standard. You know, you're getting hatches with him. You're opening those walls. Walls, particularly Jacuzzi and CCTV, both very easily defended, really. So Maverick can make that job a lot easier. No surprise to see Tubarão maybe going hand in hand with that Maverick ban. Just maybe make the tricking a little bit more difficult now. The bandit as well. Yeah, so we're probably going to see plenty of hatches getting opened. Cade will make things maybe slightly tricky, but you've got the Thatcher there as an option. I'd say the walls aren't going to be too much of an issue either. So we should have a nice open game here, I think. You know, rather than sort of minute and a half, 2-minute battles around that utility, which, you know, can be great fun sometimes. But I think we should see probably quite a bit of aggression towards site. You know, I'm always coming into it. You know, I say that maybe Wylde have been found out a bit last couple of games, but honestly, with the way that they played, credit to them. You know, the players have done fantastically well, and I'm always loath to sort of go against them the last couple of weeks because they've just surprised us so many times now. And you know, the question is, can it continue?
Big one for me, talking about this Maverick ban, you might look at it and think, oh, a bit of a Clubhouse staple, but actually it's the second most played operator by Wylde so far this stage. So even though it looks, and it is a good ban for this map in general, for me more than anything else, it's a target in towards the other side. So I love it when we see teams actually taking note of what the other side like to ban, what they like to play, and looking to play and adapt around that. We're starting things out downstairs in the basement, surprising absolutely no one. Best defensive site in the game right now, at least as far as the numbers go. And unsurprisingly, there's a Hibana coming along for Oscar, looking towards the hatches. Queen of Hatches, Hibana, we talk about her an awful lot. It's what she's extremely useful for. They have got a little bit of a nod here, though, on towards Frack. They know that he's out here on the vigil, sat inside a strip. These yellow pings coming on through. Question is, can they capitalize at the back of it and punish him? Because at least right now, no one's nearby.
Neither of these two teams have been fantastic on the entry so far. Both sitting sort of close to neutral. Wylde are negative by a couple of kills. ITB, I think, a +1 overall. So it's very, very even for them. ITB need, I was just going to say, Noah to be going and getting that job. He's the man they look to. He's the one that's involved by a country mile in the most entry engagements. He's come in and had a fantastic start there, managing to take down Freck. That really gets them on the right foot now. It's the Vigil gone as well. Can be such a great time waster, the Vigil, just out there with his cloaking device active. You don't know exactly where he is, and there's this constant fear of needing to find him. So that is a fantastic start for ITB.
It is, yeah. Getting rid of the one who's really designed to waste a lot of time is the key thing, right? The Vigil's out there to slow them down, to draw in a bunch of utility, pick up a bunch of drones on the way through, yeah. We're nearly halfway into the round, and only 2 drones have fell down so far. Really good preservation of that information gain coming out for ITB, no doubt. Have got the flanks being watched down, have got themselves in a spot to start thinking about these hatches. However, them being electrified away does mean they're going to have to start getting creative here. Nothing like a switch on side to get rid of them means things like that lobby hatch probably stay open unless there's micro EMPs in the back pocket, which indeed there are, as you can see at the top. But they've now found a second kill. They've now found a third. And just like that, Noah has just deleted this team, finding a couple of kills for himself. They've got 70 seconds to play with in a 5 versus 2. Teams, very rarely do teams lose situations like this, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Crocs kind of sold himself a little bit there. He's had that big wide peek into stock and given away his position. Packbull does manage to pick up Oscar elsewhere, but the diffuser's been planted and ITB are looking great here. Croc somehow getting away with the kill there. Azza is there for the trade. Noah going to pick it up, but round gets closed out by Azza there, and it was all done, you know, pretty well by ITB. They went in, Noah particularly getting those vertical kills from inside a kitchen. You know, Wylde can't be giving away defenders like that on this site particularly. We look at Church and Arsenal as being one of the better sites in Siege to defend. Arguably, sometimes people will say is the best or one of the best. You know, but if we look at it inside of Europe so far this year, it's quite a low defensive win rate. I'll tell you that. It's down about 30-40%. We saw it in Brazil at 50%. So this site really edging towards the attackers at the minute, and you know, Wylde showing us there that they've made life easy for ITB, picking that up as their first choice site.
They have, and I think for me it was, again, I don't fault the roam game. I love seeing the roamers out there and trying to waste time. Don't concede the whole map and just turtle up on site. You're wasting an opportunity there if nothing else. But I think to bleed out these players so individually, no ability to play for trades, for example, knowing full well that a team like ITB will coalesce around you and will punish you for it, is a little bit of a letdown, I think, on their side. And Wylde no doubt want to course correct here. Of course, we'll go to a different site first. Gym and bedroom are going to be our second. One thing I do want to notice, I know, again, looking at the standings and how they currently sit, ITB are right down there at the bottom, Wylde are in the mid-table, and off the back of that, you can just look at it and say, okay, ITB are probably going to be cooked. But I had a chat to someone ITB earlier on, and they were saying, when you look back at our results, we've gone dangerously close to the top 3 teams currently in the competition. Yeah, you know what? We had a really bad game against Virtus Pro, and we beat Fnatic quite handedly. A couple of different rounds, and suddenly we're mid-table, if not pushing towards the top. That's how close it's been for them. They were, what, a matter of 4 rounds away from being in the top 2. So although the results put them down way at the very bottom, don't think this is going to be like an easy game for Wylde, and you've just seen it in round 1. ITB are still a very competent and very dangerous team. Let's not forget they were at our last major.
Selma Charge comes in and is going to be currently attached to the mirror window. Packbull decides he'll deal that with that himself. Just has a little hop out, clears off the utility. It's a good play. It's keeping that mirror window intact. A little bit of a risk onto the breach, of course, but he's pretty confident nobody's peeking it at that point. Generally, once it's been open, people are going to be straight on the drones, having a look at what's going on. So, you know, a little bit of risk and reward there for Packbull does well. But we've also got the thermite of Kendrew just opening up that construction wall. So that's going to make it now a little bit more hazardous for Wylde here. They need to now make a decision, basically. Anybody on this cash side kind of gets stuck there. You've got to decide that you're playing your life, really, because moving back through construction going to be super risky. They've actually got 2 out on this side, so it's going to be critical that they get some value out of this hold on the cash side now.
And so far, at least, they've wasted half the round. Well, stalled out half of the round here and are playing well. As long as they don't overstay their welcome, I feel, and don't get pinched out, which is a very likely thing to happen soon, given there are 3 players on ITB starting to square around, and they've already found Croxit. 1 more being forced out. That's a great play by Dodo, though, to get 1 more. The trade coming in on the south window, but no, not going to find his man. Creed finding Freck, and almost Dodo going down, just being caught on the way out. Shot in the tail a couple of times, but a 4v3 for ITB. I think Wylde will take that. They've gone through 2 minutes of the round here, which now means ITV have got a lot to get done, a lot of droning work to do before they can say that, as Noah finds another. I'll say a lot to do before they can even think about the execute, but Tim, they've already started executing the members of Wylde.
Yeah, so they're just going to try and pick them apart one at a time now that they've got the advantage. Dodo was very lucky to get himself back to site, really. It was a nice pre-fire onto Kendrew, but he really should have been losing his life along the way and, you know, potentially being a 4v1 now. 30 seconds left to go, and that's going to be the interesting factor for the remainder of this round. Does time play the factor? You picked up on it, Des. Wylde did a really good job at burning seconds away. Is that now going to pay dividends for them as Leighton manages to find Noah with the nitro? I think he was downed, so that was just finishing him off, confirming that kill, but it leaves them now in a 2v3. This is very winnable for Leighton and Dodo. Leighton's been going fantastically well so far in the stage, gets himself another onto Azza as well, 2v2, and I don't see any way that RTB get this done now that Oscar is down as well. Creeds goes in looking for kills. He's not going to find his last man. No opportunity to put the diffuser down, and from a 4v2, you gotta say, I think ITB have fumbled that one.
And Leighton's also gone absolutely massive, I think, is the most important part to note. And you're right, he's second highest rated in the whole competition right now, behind only Yuzus on BDS. He's had a stellar stage. And the thing is, when you look at him and go, who's Leighton? Is he a new guy? He's been playing for a while. He's been on teams like Viperio back in the day. I think he was around 10-star for a while as well, maybe misquoting that one. But he's been around in the UK scene for quite a while, and these teams that sort of bubble under the surface. And yeah, a lot of EOL teams look at and say, let's lift these players up. They're really good. We want them on our side. And Leighton's, at least in this stage so far, been playing incredibly well. A very key contributor towards the success that Wylde have seen to date, and it's moments like that that really show his value. 2 big kills in the close, and then it forces ITB into panic mode. Really good stuff.
I picked up at the time on Dodo being able to get back through construction. Once that wall's open and you've got somebody on window, Dodo should never be making it back to site. And when they're winning out a 2v3, a 2v4, and it's coming down to a 1v1 at the end, those are the kinds of opportunities that you've got to look back on as ITB and say, oh, we've let that slip there. It's not the end of the world, like I say, that he kills Kendrick, but he needs to be then picked up in a trade from that window. His movement was really good. Dodo did a good job of using the cover that was available to him, and it's not extensive in construction, it's fair to say, but he did a good job of using it to get himself back. But yeah, you know, credit to Wylde there for winning that round, wasting a lot of time. They did very, very well with it. So let's see how we go in round 3. ITB are going to be attacking this time onto CCTV and Cash. They're already on that main breach, looking to get it opened up. Packbull's mirror has been dealt with pretty much immediately, but it's more about this, getting those nitros out there, preventing the breach going on, making them scared about getting in and doing it. And the Thermites had to breach upside down, which is going to leave a vault at the bottom of that wall should they need to push in through the breach at any point.
For a second, I thought they were maybe going to try and catch him out quite early on. As soon as that mirror was on the wall, it was smashed out immediately. They opted to shoot it out, maybe get a C4 through, but nothing to be found by Wylde, at least to start. But good of ITB to be there so quick and early on, ready to smash that one up as soon as it started becoming a thing. We'll go course corrected as well, because the Professor did step in here as well. Leighton was on Team 86, Viperio, Jihu, and Lays Dogs, with a lot of S's at the end of that word as well. So not quite on the team that I said earlier on. However, not 10-star, all the others, that sort of gamut of team that we mentioned earlier on. So thank you very much, Fresh, for the correction. As things stand, though, half that round has passed, and as you noted, Tim, maybe there's a little bit of a potential scrap early on. Nothing really erupted off the back of it. IQ has become a staple across these 3 rounds as well, as are playing it in every single round so far. I think leaning in towards acknowledging after that first round that we saw the Valkyrie and the Echo, it's that constant worry of if they've got them again, they're going to be a real headache, and unless we manage to spot all 5 of the defenders, we don't know if they'll be on the field. They weren't in the previous round, but at least you're seeing the Valkyrie here in round 3. A big focus now coming around construction, mind you, and still with over a minute to play.
Yeah, you know, Valkyrie not present in round 2, as you said, but Fenrir was, for example. So, you know, a good use again of IQ to be able to spot out those gadgets and where it might be a problem. Noah does manage to pick up that entry again. I said they needed a big entry game from Noah tonight, and so far he is delivering. 3 rounds and 3 entries have gone the way of ITB, but again, maybe just missing some opportunities there. However, the diffuser is going down. That's the opportunity that matters. Noah, he's managed to get in and out. What a job done by ITB.
Slice this site up like cheese, Tim. One sat on Cash Door, one on the breach, one top red, one out on towards balcony, not top red, one on towards the platform here as well. So much in their favor. They've absolutely slaughtered Wylde in this round, and just goes to show, sometimes it ain't about always getting kills. It's about denying away these lines of sight for the defenders and just finding where the dark spots are where you can pull off and execute like that. There were 9 players still in the server as that diffuser was going down, yet Wylde were powerless to be able to stop it without first killing those players holding off towards the side angles. Beautiful stuff, and it's why, like I said back in round 1, I did not blame at all Wylde for being out on the roam and trying to disrupt, because otherwise you enable situations like this where the attackers have got basically every single man still alive. They control all the angles, all the pressure is on you as the defenders, and your world becomes very, very small the longer that round wears on. Great start for ITB so far, up 2-1.
Back down to Church and Arsenal, we go for round 4. As I said earlier, not a very good defensive win rate, at least in Brazil and Europe, and I dare say probably the rest of the world at the moment as well. For some reason, you know, what is generally considered a very strong defensive side, the defenders are struggling to hold on to. We'll see whether Wylde can get it done at the second time of asking. In round 1, it was basically the Noah show. He went in and got 3 kills, and the round was largely over before it had begun. It was great play from him, using the verticality that he'd created himself. He was on the ram, he'd done a lot of work inside a kitchen, found kills from in there, and it just worked out really well for ITB. So Wylde this time, they need to be getting more out of the roam. They had a vigil last time, they haven't brought that along this time. No surprise it wasn't too effective, but this time they need to find a way to keep those players out there and burn a bit more time. They saw in round 2 what can happen if they burn that time away from ITB. Got to learn from that, got to set them some problems to solve.
Absolutely, it's also worth looking at the entry as well. Every single round so far going the way of ITB, most definitely looking at the more dominant side. And a lot of it has been from that early round catching of individual players, or for when the execute's starting to shape up, just finding one player getting a little bit cheeky and catching them out quite comfortably. Freki is looking for one, right sort of idea, but look at that. ITB just quick peek in that window, making sure they knew what was going on, and they have all the information they needed, that someone was there, trying to be a bit cheeky, and immediately round the back, Oscar is in. This is the kind of team play that I love seeing in Siege, when players can isolate and try and pick someone off. It's good stuff. And equally, Wylde back the other way, had a crossfire onto that drop. Yeah, I think Oscar Fair players tried to catch them off guard, but has been punished for it. A 4v4, and we've still got so much time to play, Tim.
Yeah, ITB certainly trying to take the chances when they presented to them, but at the minute, Wylde are holding strong. Here comes the blitz, though. How are they going to deal with this? Very well will be the answer. Dodo manages to find the kill onto Kendrew. Grot picks up Azza, and that leaves us now in a 1v4. It's all up to Noah, and it's going to be a tough minute and a half for him if he wants to win this one out. All he can do is try and isolate one or two people, see if he can pick up kills from angles like these. Just get a vertical, see if you can find something, get a pick, just to try and bring things back into your favor a little bit, but it's going to be tough for him from here.
Yeah, I think it's just been so well played by Wylde. You know, outside of the entry there from Frek, who did get caught out and pincered on by multiple players on the side of ITB. Stepping away from that, all of their kills came from these 2v1s, these crossfires they'd set up. Because as you rightly said, how's he going to deal with the blitz here? No one likes being ran down by a shield. We all know that. But the fact that he had Dodo across down long, up towards main stairs, had that long cross as the blitz just charged towards the smoke, that's the kind of support and cover that you want coming in from your teammates, right? They were ready for that one. They knew what their roles were. They knew who they were meant to cover, and they made sure that there was never an unfair gunfight going against them. Really good stuff and great composure from Wylde in round 4. Brings things back up to 2 apiece.
Yeah, it was a good defense, no two ways about it. They just held on to site very well, very comfortable setup. I feel like ITB gave them a couple of opportunities as well, kind of, you know, getting that aggression there, throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks, and the answer is nothing much sticked. Stuck. Wylde were well on top of it.
I'll start making a little Ace of Pyrite dictionary for today's broadcast.
Oh, I'm having a good night of it. Yeah, very good from Wylde. So, gym and bedroom, we'll see what they can do. Last time it came down to a 2v4. ITB really should have been winning this attack. Wylde got themselves a little bit caught out in the cash and CCTV top red side with that quick opening of construction wall. They chose to stick around. They lost a couple of bodies for it. So I think I'd like to see Wylde maybe just keep a little bit better control of the top floor, but they need to just basically burn out the time like they did last time.
It's exactly that. And I think the lesson they can probably learn from these first few rounds is when they're having individual players out on the roam, ITB so far have been very good at finding out where they are, isolating them, and sending 2 or 3 players after them, and very quickly at that as well, not really giving Wylde too much time to react when they realise, oh god, they know where I am, there's a drone on me, I'm being red pinged, suddenly there's 3 players around you. So I actually think being a little bit more defensive or playing more as a group out on the roam is probably Wylde's key to success here, to give ITB something to think about, to guarantee trades, because we speak about this a lot on broadcasting. If you have a 1-for-1 trade early in a round and it's, say, I don't know, a Valkyrie or a castle that goes down for an attacker that's pushing in, that is always a win for the defenders. You're in a spot where you're taking away a lot of utility that is powerful later on in the round, and these things just build up an advantage for you when it comes to the execute. Imagine ITB trying to pull off that cash CC execute earlier on without all those players alive. It simply doesn't happen. And Patbull has just stepped out now, found Kenny on a swing, nice and aggressive, and the Thermite, although his job has already been done, so it's not too bad a sting, will mean that they lose some of that back pocket utility that won't be available for the execute.
I was just going to credit ITB with a great process of opening Jacuzzi wall, getting the mirror taken out, which we saw didn't happen last time. Everything worked for them. They've lost the Thermite, which means they might not now breach construction wall, which was a real positive for them last time. Wylde are going to have that nice, safe way of getting back to site if that wall stays closed. The kill from Patbull was absolutely beautiful, just getting aggressive when it wasn't expected. Great stuff from Wylde, and right now, ITB, they're out in the cold and they're just having a look to see what they can find. But Wylde, they can just sit on their hands here. It can be hands off keyboard and mouse. Just wait until ITB push.
There's still a couple of players trying to clear out towards construction side as well. I mean, Creeds is making it happen. Do they know about the third inside? No! Steps him and finds 2 for himself. Noah, it all to do against 3. And something tells me, Tim, it ain't quite happening. I'm with you, though. Again, playing quite tight together. Early in the round, a couple of single kills being picked up onto ITB. And Wylde have just said, well, we know that they can't get all that much done. Sure, the sound was still on side. They were so focused on their pushing towards that east side of the map that it left this west side completely barren. They had no real pressure coming on through. Fair play to Noah. He's got one back. Still 2 more to go through, though, and they are not going to give him an inch. Great round from Croxon as well, a 3K for him.
Yeah, big round from Croc. He'd done fantastically well. It went to 3 versus 3, but then he did his job over in Cash, picked up those couple of kills, and it was plain sailing, really, for Wylde from there on in. So another good defensive round from them. Despite that initial spark at the beginning from ITB on the attack, the attack is where they continue to struggle. It's something that Fresh picked up on the desk. He was saying this is a big problem for them. The stage 1 attacks were much better than the stage 2 attacks, and the wars continue, really. They've had opportunities here, and you feel like they probably could be in the lead, but Wylde have actually stood up really, really well. Look at that. Beautiful aggression coming out of Packbull. It's one of them 50-50. If it goes the other way, you're probably saying, why are you peeking the breach? You've just lost the defeat. You didn't need to. But you know what? It worked out. All's well that ends well. Great kill from Packbull.
There's a piece to be given here as well on if ITV managed to convert this round and take a 3-3 half. That's a wonderful start. Yeah, really weirdly, there's a memory that I have of actually Packbull being on an old team. It was called Crazy back in the day, if you remember, the Challenger League team. I remember speaking to them at the time when they used to start attack on Clubhouse. When no one else would do that, everyone would start defense for very obvious reasons. And I remember asking them, I was like, why do you choose to start attack on Club like no one else does? And they said it's because they back themselves to get 3 attacking rounds. They were in a spot where they could just be like, well, if we get 3 attacking rounds, the pressure suddenly flips to the other side. This then starts to maybe look like that if ITB get this round. But before this round is even over, let's talk about the scope that's being brought along here, Tim. It's Dodo rocking it in this round. We want to see where they're setting up and where they're dropping down that second shell. We spoke a lot about the flank potential, the backstabs, you name it. Every chance here that can become a thing. Great C4! Couldn't quite find it last time round, but here they get rid of Kenny, and I feel for him. This is the Thermite main pain, Tim. I'm sure you know it yourself sometimes. Every bit of misfortune that can come your way, it seems to be a thing when you're on the Thermite.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to know where the second Skopos shell is. Of course, there will, definitely be developed more ways to use it, but there's 2 main ways to use it in the shower at the minute. So 2 main ways to use it. You can either keep one in sight, get off out on the roam, and it's a really easy way. You can have a little bit of an impact, maybe get a kill, and then boom, switch back to your other shell. You're safely in sight, you get yourself back from the roam. Kind of like a little teleport, if you will, back into sight. Or alternatively, you can do the flip reverse of that, which is kind of now what they're trying to do here with Dodo. He's got his shell off out in shower. It's actually really difficult to destroy when it's in the shower cubicle like that as well. The best they can do is put a claymore on it.
Great
but it gives him an opportunity late in the round to zip out onto the flank if they start attacking through construction. So could be a really smart play, but we'll have to see what happens and whether he decides to use it or not. 4 versus 4.
Great bit of play as well from ITB again. It feels they're really good at this pinch when they realise there's a player who isn't going to be able to move away particularly quick. In this case there, it was on to Catwalk. In previous rounds, it was things like the Vigil that was sat inside a strip. We've seen it across the rounds happen relatively consistently. Where they haven't coped too well is when ITB have been pretty quick on things like swings or moving quite erratically in a way and keeping them on their toes, essentially. Where ITB have found a player there pinned in. Nades coming from 2 directions. 2 sets of gunfire laid down him as well. Just everything that could go against him alongside firebolts. It was all raining on through. Leighton finished off here as well. So, again, not looking bad. I won't get too excited for ITB yet because we've seen them give away a 4 versus 2 already. A 4v3 at this point feels perfectly winnable.
Yeah, it is, definitely. I don't think we're going to see too much use for the Skopos shell because we're not having too much attention over well, you're going to see 0 use of the Skopos shell now. But there was no attention over. You've got to kind of take a gamble as to where that push is going to come from. Diffuser is going down. There is an opportunity for Croc here. Surely not. He gets shut down by Noah. That was close. Managing to pick up 2 kills, but Diffuser does get stuck. However, Packbull gets 1. Can he find the second? No! He gets the difficult one. He finds the man on the rappel. It was a beautiful shot, but he just couldn't get the job done in the 1v2. And that's going to be ITB leveling things up 3-3.
They'll be fuming because that man's using a MacBook. That was coming down to be really close, or an iPad maybe. I don't know. Other brands are available. It was coming down to it at the end where it comes down to a 1v1. I think Wylde will be kicking themselves that they couldn't get that one done. Yes, they were in this man disadvantage situation regardless, but for them that was a golden opportunity to secure that 4-2 half, to put themselves in a good spot going into the second. Now they've got to show what they can do in the second side of things. They're the ones who have got to bring the heat on the attacking side, and ITB I can just foresee being a little bit of a nuisance to try and deal with here.
Some beautiful shots from Wylde. That one from Packball particularly, that's a difficult shot to hit. You see very, very little of the attacker when they're on the rappel like that on the half roof, and it was a great one from him. So a good effort from Wylde, but just couldn't get the job done. ITB then going 3-3. So just interestingly to pick up on, we spoke a bit about the score pass there. We didn't see too much use, of the ability within that round. It just wasn't really relevant. I think for that site as well, for me on this map, get a score pass when you're down in Church and Arsenal, leave one down inside, get up on the top floor and have a roam around, and then you can just boom, pop back into sight, nice and safe.
I didn't hate the Scopus there. Like, the only thing I really blame is which listen, it's which round they chose to do it in, because if ITB repeated the previous attack where they came in from construction side, Scopus is perfect there. Going to do so much impact, be a real backstab threat unless they're throwing it out well, which is unlikely, I suppose. You might quickly check the bathroom out, but you won't necessarily go and check the shower cubicle itself directly. You might just skip past that step. And even if you see the Scopus there, you can't bolt over. You can't easily get a headshot onto it because it's so tucked into this square box stuff like shower cubicle that you kind of have to keep an eye on it all round long. It's a real frustration point. But because ITB came from this southwest side, they got garage, they got main breach opened up. It wasn't really a point of bother for them. It wasn't really a point of contestation to have to worry about the Scopus overall. So it ended up kind of doing more harm to Wylde there than maybe advantage. But if that had been used in the prior attack of that site from ITB, it could have been mega.
A final point on the Scopus as well. Quite often you might see, particularly at the pro level, you're probably going to see them claymoring the second shell if they find it, rather than actually taking it down. You can kill it, but why take it down? If the camera's not really doing any work for it, depending on where it is, just run the risk of them switching shells and you get the kill. If you take the shell down, they can't switch to it, so you can't get the kill. You're always going to have to fight the live one inside the site. So quite a few of the pros are putting claymores on them at the minute. So 3 versus 3 anyways. We get back to the action at hand halfway through the round as they're just picking up Freck there. ITB have wasted a bit of time here on the roam. That's definitely not really too bad at the minute. They need to get themselves back to site here. That was my concern as I was saying that. Azza does manage to get back down there.
Slide down the stairs there.
It was a risky one. It was a risky. I felt like he was gonna maybe lose his life on the way back, but no, he does manage to survive. 55 seconds left to go then, and quite a bit of work for Wylde to do here because they haven't been confidently in the map yet. They've still got a bit of setting up to do. But how about this from Croc? He's having a fantastic game so far, and he's just gonna crouch walk his way down blue, and he might have a little surprise for them here, Des.
He will do. I think they must know that you.
The mirror's holding him back.
I was going to say, you expect pressure to come from blue at some point. Like, surely they're not that dense to just let it be a thing that gets away from them. Up on the top floor, they had the 4v3, though, here, Wylde, and they've let it go. Question marks towards Pat Bolly. Was on drones. He's on the Zokobi. He's got a call in back pocket still. It would have been wonderful for them, but at this point, proving not ready to be all that useful. Now they've got to try and push in and find some kills. With 2 left alive. It's not going to happen. Azza turns it on his head. He says, forget about Croc. It's all about me. Steps up with a 3 in the round. Leighton left all alone. And if anyone's going to do it, it's him. But there's not enough time left. 5 seconds on the clock. ITB are going to start out with a win on their defensive side.
Yeah, good start from ITB there. I've already spoken about the defensive win rate down in basement, and they will buck that trend as Wylde did in their second attempt. They'll get down there and get that locked out. I think, the bigger way to buck that trend is, of course, to win it twice. Get that 100% defensive win rate for yourself. They've got the 50% if they go back there again, but that's pretty much on trend for now. So ITB managed to get themselves the lead again, but there is very little to separate these two teams at the minute, Des. I think it's going to be potentially about that switch of the half, and whether Wylde can match that 3 attacking rounds. That's the question mark. ITB have already put the marker down. They've already set the bar. Can Wylde do the same when they're having to be the ones to solve the problems?
For both teams, they've not had the best time this stage when it comes to attacks overall. I mean, that's a lie, actually. Wylde have done pretty well. They're attacking men percentage over 50%. That in itself is a pretty good success on wagering by anyone's standards. ITB have been a little bit worse off. They've been down at 33%. Really, the difference there between both teams is a single round. It's a 3-3 versus a 4-2 split. But ITB have got that 3-3, which is what then starts to make this a bit of a challenge. And as I was saying earlier on, and I'll say it now, we've got another scope post, fresh, calm down. I can see it's on the screen. We'll talk about it in a sec. The big thing about it for me is that Wylde have now got to overcome this side of ITB, who, like I mentioned earlier on, might be low down the standings, but have been within 2 rounds of the top 2 teams in terms of beating them out. They're no slouches. The standings don't always give away the full story, is the way to look at it. Now, we'll see if Azza can do any particular magic on the scope post, if he can put it to more effect than maybe Dodo did earlier on. I think as we saw from him, it was about if a cash side push came through. It didn't happen, but keep an eye on that one now and we'll see what he can do.
Well, it's definitely, definitely an operator that we're going to see some impact from at some point, no doubt. It's just... No, I think it's circumstantial. I think Skopos so far is looking like a great operator. Circumstantial, not guaranteed success. You just kind of need a few things to align and, have that big brain moment of, right, boom, there's my switch. There's, where I'm going to be able to take advantage of that. And it goes quite well. I think just kind of being used for that intel element of it at the moment. If you look at it as potentially like a sort of I was going to say a soft...
Wow.
Bulletproof camera.
I mean, again,
really,
we'll see nothing.
No, it's kind of like a soft bulletproof is your inactive shell, which is, going to be watching through now into Logi, sorry. But the good thing is it's, we're talking about Sentry a lot, who gets to bring 2 of those secondary gadgets. In a way, Skopos is almost doing that because you've kind of got this bulletproof cam in the way that it's facing, and then you've got the prox alarms as well. Noah manages to pick up Dodo, Leighton picking up Oscar, leaving us 4 versus 3 now. Wylde still with an advantage, managing to keep on top of the ITB defense as it stands. ITB now pretty much fully forced back into sight. The Skopos has gone off the board, so there'll be no shell switching, but the camera will still be active until destroyed.
And that's the blessing about it, is that after-death value that you still provide, the camera, the shield, just...
It's almost 3 gadgets, isn't it? Shield, camera, prox alarm.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts how much it can really offer you. Yeah, it is an awful lot. We were thinking about this a bit before the show as well. I think it was Fresh who was asking the effective health of Skopos, although it doesn't always really come into effect. 220 HP across the 2 shells. If one gets absolutely battered, deploy it and go and run around the other one. You basically got a whole new operator to go and take a few more gunfights. So... a lot that they offer, of course, across this game so far. I haven't really seen that come into effect, but I do worry Skopos will end up quite a bit like Oryx, where it's like the fantasy is, gets up a hatch, flanks 3 players. I think we've seen that happen once in the history of Siege. I just get the sense it's going to be a similar sort of story. Nowhere into a second, though, spins on a dime and gets 1 more, Creed's into another, and like that, ITB have got the man advantage.
15 seconds left.
Just trying to hold on now with the time that is left to them, but Freck manages to get in, can't find the second. That was the crucial moment. If he'd managed to pick up Creed's there, then it's probably a win for Wylde, but he goes through as he takes out the shell. Noah steps out and gets the kill that matters, and that's going to be another successful round for ITB. They managed to get themselves now onto 5-3, and they're looking pretty good on the defense.
They are, and this is the worry point that I had again. Don't count out ITB because they're at the bottom of the table, very capable of winning games like these. And truthfully, as I said earlier, they're coming into what many would call an easy run of games. It's not like it's a big challenge where they're against the big teams early on. They've got Wylde, they've got Secret, who I think will probably be a little bit of a challenge, and Ents, who maybe in the odd game in a season stand up and look pretty good, but they probably fancy themselves, I expect, at this point to get in towards the mid-table and really start doing some damage. That's what I'm quite excited to see how those next few games go. And this one for me, the big story coming in was Wylde either have a golden chance to secure themselves a spot in playoffs by pulling way ahead from that scrappy 5-point range. If it stays as they are and they stay on 8 points, they're within striking distance of so many teams that sit underneath them. And to looking at them, they've got hard games. They've got G2 to play tomorrow. Virtus Pro, you never know what kind of side is going to come out on any given day from Virtus Pro. This could be the last chance that Wylde have to pick up points here. And it could find themselves falling out of playoff contention unless they get a result here today. They've got to turn things on because we're coming into that crucial round 9, where if they don't win this one, they're down 6-3. It's 3 rounds to recover. that's a tall order for any team to be able to claw back. We've really got to see these boys get on it here and start putting up some numbers. And speaking of numbers, I do want to touch on Leighton for a second. Again, second highest rated player in the competition. Currently stands at 3 and 7. Not his day, clearly, but we've got to see him come online. It can't keep on being all about Croc and what he can do.
You speak about those playoff places and, you know, the points potentially after this one. If ITB get the win, they head up onto 6 points if it's in regulation at least. And that starts making things tasty, Des. In around that sort of 5th, 6th place area, you've got Wylde on 8, you'll have Into the Breach on 6, you'll have Virtus Pro and Fnatic on 5. There's... Oh, it starts getting real tasty for who's going to make it into those final playoff matches. And it's going to be a real battle, you know, when we talk about the matches that these teams have got left as well. You know, Wylde have maybe got a little bit of a difficult run-in at the end. They've got G2 to play against yet. They've got Virtus Pro to play against yet. Can be a tough team, so certainly not a given for them. And, you know, that's the case for kind of everybody in and around that area, to be honest. It's going to be a tasty one.
Absolutely. Well, wall being opened up here to start things out inside the first 30 seconds, so a golden start. This puts Wylde in good stead. Question now comes on which side of the map you want to attack next. You can go out towards construction side, or you can work yourself in towards catwalk and garage. This is one of those great sites, I think, where it's you take either the south, you take the east, you take the west, pick 2 of those, and that's what gets you set up for an execute, right? For the one that worked so well for ITB earlier, it was getting control of the breach out towards the east and then having construction on their side, and that proved to be enough for them. Also put a lot of pressure in towards catwalk to make sure no one could play so freely from that spot, but the main 2 angles they needed were east and west. Here, at least, for Wylde, they've got themselves set up on the east side. It's the easiest one to get. Now it's a choice on where to next, and it looks to be that construction is going to be their point of focus. Creed has gone down on the Valkyrie. Spoke earlier on, it's not too bad when a defender goes down. Those IQ black eye cameras are still going to be... what am I on about? Valkyrie black eye cameras are still available on the field. They are being picked up by Freck, though, out here on the IQ, sniffing them all out and getting them gone.
Interestingly, we've had a complete reversal in fortune on the entry as well. I said it was important for ITB to try and keep on top of that area of the fight.
Wow.
They got the first 4 rounds, but then round 5 through to round 9 has all been Wylde. They've picked up the last 5 entry kills, so they're getting themselves really good man advantage. But in the last couple of rounds, they just haven't been able to convert it. Oscar is going to manage to find Leighton, which trades out that earlier entry. Leaves us now at 4 versus 4. Pack Bull picks up Azza, and they've also got control of construction here of Wylde. But how about that? Noah steps out and says, no, they don't. He's going to watch the master bedroom window just through, but no, just overstretches a little bit and leaves himself exposed to Freck, who manages to get him to bring things back. Now it's a 1v3.
They've got the cross.
Diffuser's going down.
It's really all they needed. Get one player across towards Cash. The other 2 can hold the angles exactly the same as ITB did to them earlier on. Pretty much doomed the second that he stepped across here and let that man through into Cash. 1 out towards his right, a couple out towards his west. It's so hard to win a fight onto this platform as well. It's why it's such a powerful position to start your rounds off on. Got to try and do what they can, but Dodo gets that closing shot. And Wylde get that round that, like I said, they so sorely needed, because as we so often speak about, Tim, round 9 is that big inflection point in a game. You're either 3 rounds apart or you're 1 round apart. Take your pick.
Yeah, really important conversion of that entry kill that they got as well. Croc picked up the first, and then they were able to close out the round. But like you said, just really good from Wylde. It was just it just showed tactically, strategically, a really good understanding of attacking that site, which you'd expect any of these teams to have at this level. But it was just really nicely demonstrated. They had construction, they had the breach open into CCTV, they had a man out on the rappel, they just had every cross covered, every angle, and it just went to show, because what happened at the end there was ITB just had nowhere to move. Every time they tried to move anywhere, we saw it with Noah, he just kind of stepped back inside construction, and there's an angle from the window through the breach, and he's being found. It was just absolutely everywhere, and it was a tough one for them to try and hold on.
It's a lot of the same stuff I was speaking about for ITB though, right? The ability to identify a player that was largely alone, isolate them out, punish them at the back of that. Admittedly helped by a small little bit of mispositioning, but even in the case where I think it was Freck who stepped out and found it, not Freck, sorry, we'd had the Legion step out and find a kill. Immediately there was a response from 2 of the players to try and pinch onto him and get that shutdown back in response. So it was good to see the counter. Now we've got to see if Wylde can even the standings up to 5 and 5, or if ITB move themselves on towards match point and oh so much closer to that all-important 3 points. They win this game, they jump into playoff contention. There's still other games to play today, of course, and throughout the week, but the most important thing is they'll then be in the conversation, which they haven't been for the majority of the stage.
In goes the Butts, going to get aggressive, but the due diligence has not been done. And how about that? RTB pile on the pressure, they mount the misery, and they take it to a 5v2 in a matter of heartbeats, Des.
That is so painful. We saw ITV do this in round 6, where they tried something a little bit creative, dare I say. They tried to throw themselves down through hatches because they realized the slow grind of trying to work through the site maybe wasn't quite worth it. But I don't know, they've just tried to send everything through one window there and have paid the price bitterly for it. Maybe not realizing there was a player so close or relying on the blitz to get it all done. Either way, it's not going to work out for them here. If they can pull this off, this would be magical from Patbull and Dodo. Probably one of the greatest clutches that we see this year. And I'm just not convinced they're going to be able to get it done. They may have all the time in the world to work with. Sadly, I don't think the time is really going to help them.
Nope, very unlikely at this point. It's really now one of those, you use your time here, try and bait out a kill or two, but RTB are smarter than that. You can see this army, the Kiba barricades just being used to build that, you know, that complete partition across the bottom of the stairs so nobody can move down there. They're not gonna, you know, push to find a kill here. They're not gonna step out. They're not gonna expose themselves to the angles that Wylde are covering. And I think we're likely to see the next 45 seconds sort of tick away with Wylde hoping to find one or two, and they're not going to get away with it. Noah manages to pick up Dodo and the final one with the pistol to give us a flawless round.
Good stuff indeed. As said, that's them up to match point, and that now starts that challenging moment for Wylde, but they've got to find 2 rounds to keep themselves in a conversation, even for OT. So ITB at the very least are guaranteed to walk away with a point. Of course, they want to be securing all 3 here. That's the big aim they came in today wanted to do, to make sure they're not left out in the cold, away from the conversation of playoff contention. I think if nothing else, though, that's a nice attempt. That was a little rush moment. Now we've got to get things back on track. Surprised that we haven't seen, or maybe we haven't seen the notification of it, that attack timeout hasn't come through here as well. That replay's just horrible to watch. But attack timeout surely comes in here. You've got no real chances left here. You've got to have figured things out. I don't know if they did or not. By the looks of it, they didn't. This could hurt.
Yeah, I think, the odds really sit with RTB at this point to get this closed out here and now. Just a big mistake from Wylde, to be honest with you. You know, obviously a lot of that push was going to be coming in behind Leighton on the blitz, and they've not found the cap cans. You know, you don't tend to get cap cans too much on windows because they tend to be easily found because the barricade gets shot out and then you see them on the window frame. So generally they tend to be hidden away on doors and stuff more, but just a really smart play from RTB. Knowing that shields are so popular at the minute, there's always the potential for one of them to just go for that one hit, booming straight through the go, and boom indeed. You know, you got to be droning that out. If you're going to send in a blitz or a Monte through a barricade in one, you got to be droning out the far side of it to see what's there. I expect at that point that Wylde were aware that there was a cap can on the board, so kind of unforgivable that one really to lose the tip of the spear like that.
Massively so. Well, let's see if they can get away with getting any magic on here. They did start out nice and quick in previous rounds with getting this main breach opened up and starting their march through in towards this east side of the map. You can see on the side of ITB, there are a couple of players stationed out here, including the Scopos, now in the hands of Creed, so rotating across the team. But it's about how much time they can waste and how many kills they can get while they're out here. And that also applies to Wylde on the other side. If they can shoot through this in 45 seconds, get a kill or two, cut off the rotates back towards site for these defenders, it's a great way to give yourself an advantage in the execute. But that's a big if on whether or not they can secure that. Dodo already down here to 29 HP. A crucial operator in his hands in the Thatcher as well for helping getting any walls open up that need to be. Mute jammers aren't really the end of the world to deal with, but it's still something that's going to impede and slow you down.
Bomb located by attackers.
Halfway through the round nearly then, Wylde still just going, looking to clear out utility, get themselves a little bit of access later with a really important entry kill there. Freck follows it up, and here they go, getting aggressive. Croc sees his opportunity.
They have no idea.
And ITB just don't have a clue, Des. Bulletproof camera will spot him out now, but the damage is done. Wild shots as well from Oscar as he comes around the corner. Does manage to find one. Make that two. RTB could have been back in it, but Pipebull, he shuts down the retake. The diffuser's going down, and in a 3v1, surely Wylde can get this done.
Oh, almost ran the back as well, but no. Not quite getting away with it, and I love that Wylde turned that pace on. Right, they start the round so they don't rush from minute 1. They start things out nice and slow, and on the spin of a dime can change the pace of the round. It was something that I was talking about on the Brazilian broadcast yesterday. It's something the best teams around the world have been able to do for quite a while, is not being predictable. You could be really slow one moment, the next you're turning the heat up and you're moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and the other side just doesn't always anticipate it when a round has been going so slow. You're ready for drones to come raining on through, maybe a little bit of utility, you think it's moving nice and chill, then suddenly 3 players are on your ass and you're all dead. And it's so hard to deal with and prepare for, and that's exactly what Wylde have pulled out there. Full credit to them. They've now brought this down all the way to round 12. They have the chance to send this into overtime. ITB will be begging they can hand on.
It's making for a tasty matchup, that much is for sure. Round 12, as you say, we go into CCTV and Cash. We saw this back in round 9, and guess what? It was a Wylde win. So ITB, they're going to have to do something that they couldn't last time. If you remember, it was actually a really good Wylde attack as well. Got control of construction, open construction wall, opened the main breach, held that from the rappel, forced their way on into site, got multiple kills when ITB just had absolutely nowhere to rotate, move or go, and it was just really, really solid from Wylde. No surprise this time to see ITB making that adaptation, getting the mirror window out, and they are going to fully try to hold on to that master side as well.
We'll see if they can. Speak about it time and time again about the extensions to waste time to try and take down the attacker or two in the process. EMP comes through. We're going to be opened up. They're going to try and actually, they can't really actually deny it with the Kaid here as well. A Bandit, of course, will make it a lot easier. You've seen that ban coming into effect here for Wylde on their attacking side. And I think it speaks volumes that in the vast majority of rounds here, 30 seconds in, that cash fort, the CC wall, sorry, is immediately opened up. They're moving at pace. It does let them get set up nice and early on and not have to worry about spending a minute doing this weird dance to try and get control of that wall.
What goes into Lodge is going to spot out Creed's inside of there, but really it just sends a message to Wylde at the minute. He's going to be in a difficult position to move, really, and I think Creed's will fancy himself to take any fight that might come his way in that position, and whilst he stays there, it means that Wylde slow down. It means they have to take the foot off the gas a little bit. They know that there's going to be a hold on that side that they need to deal with, so they're not going to be able to get that joy in construction like they did last time around. So I think ITB playing it smart. Yes, it's a little bit aggressive, but they need to keep hold of that side of the map.
Oh, they're stepping for the 1, but no, 2 kills go the way of ITB. The C4 over the top finds a 3rd. I thought they'd miss it out. Freck at least gets 1 back on the backside, but it's just that, Tim. It's a consolation kill. He's got it all to do. Sees no teammates left standing on the field and 4 players on the side of ITB. We've had some mega potential clutch situations, but it's not going to be the case here. ITB win things out in regulation, take all 3 points, and force themselves into the middle of this busy pack of teams in the playoffs.
That really mixes things up in terms of the EUL standings there. And ITB jumping up the table and they're making things real close around that 6th place fight. It was, you know, both teams had great moments inside of that game. Ultimately, ITB just able to get it done on the defense, improving by only 1 round to take it 7-5.
Yeah, and I don't want to say in convincing fashion because I think there's still some of the issues that we've seen across the stage for ITB being present, right? Maybe not as clean a win as they wanted it to be. I'm sure they'll have lots to go away and think about and look to work on ahead of their next couple of games, but it's a promising sign for their last 3. As mentioned, they've got Secret, they've got Ents. Secret are a hard team to beat right now. Ents, I think many are looking at and saying there's a free few points there waiting, but you never know what's going to happen in EUL. Anyway, our desk are waiting. I'm sure they are gagging to have a chat about Scopus. Let's go over to them now.
There's an S, thank you very much. ITB claw their way, albeit temporarily maybe off the bottom of the table there, Fresh, with a good performance.
Yeah, I thought it was a much-needed performance. We kind of challenged both of these teams, Leo, to show us something improved. I thought the map was massive in that because it was a very level playing ground. I thought both teams knew exactly what they were doing on the map. And the overall fixture, the overall context, was that it was 2 teams putting out a display that was probably middle to bottom of the table in confidence. I wouldn't say ITB were absolutely classic in there. I wouldn't say Wylde were either. And it was just about who had the most grit and determination to get over the line.
Was it a slow and steady version of ITB that we saw there, Leo?
Yeah, we mentioned that they had two different styles of attack before, right? And technically, I would say that in attack right now, the way they played was way slower, step by step, and very clear. Actually, I was very surprised with their quality and their ability to be explosive in clearing in the first step or second step. You know, that's something that we're very strong at when they were executing with cheesy plays with these direct takes. And it shows that they still have these strong suits. When they go for this strong position that they want to remove, whether it be garage catwalk, whether it be master room clear, whenever they do it very well. The problem is at the end of the rounds. That's where they consistently failed, I think. There always was a mistake there, yet they still were in control.
Yeah, I think we see that. You say that they maybe should have got, ITB maybe should have got a 5-1 attacking split. As you can see by the scoreboard, they ended up with a 3-3 attacking split. And in reality, it was good, but like you said, the last step wasn't as good, and that's how come it became a 3-3. I think, being blunt, being honest, against a better team than Wylde, no disrespect to Wylde, but against a BDS or a G2 or a Wolves, they don't achieve a 3-3 attacking split here. So there was good signs in their attack. It's what got them over the line, and it's what we want to see them improve. But they need to continue improving if they're going to challenge to get to the playoffs.
So we've obviously seen ITB a lot better than this in the past. You're saying that this performance here isn't necessarily a return to former glory?
No, not yet. A 7-5 against Wylde is 3 points, and that's the way they need to see it. It's now something to build on. Last couple of games to go. Can they sneak into the playoff spot? And then can they do something in best of threes? Because that's 2, 3, 4 weeks time that we're talking about there. It was good, but there's still ways to improve.
And they're facing quote-unquote easier teams that they faced before. I know Secret is in a good shape right now, but like when you look at the 3 BO3s that were remaining before this match, it was Wylde and then Secret and then Ants. So you would say on paper teams that should be easier to face than BDS or than G2 and Wolves that they faced before. It's the perfect momentum to grab right now. So that was a very close, very tiny victory, but it's a regulation win with 3 points. That's what you need. This should kick off the rest, right? And also it points that they can play this steady, slow, methodical play style.
Yeah.
They brought Thermite, Thatcher, Captao, Grim, very step by step. They can do it. So they have 2 strengths right now, this direct takes and this slow and methodical playstyle. That needs to work against Secret now.
I mean, my word, you're right. They needed those 3 points and they needed a player to step up, and Noah did.
100%. I think he was the one that really carried them. When we talked about ITB before, we said that maybe they were lacking that firepower in the individuals whenever the chemistry wasn't working. Noah did bring that today. This, I don't know how he gets away with that deagle shot, by the way. But overall, we needed someone to step up and carry that team whenever the chemistry wasn't there. I think it was there at some point. Like I said, it ended up wrong in the late execute, but all the way through, Noah really was the one that was pulling the entire team. 75% KOST, 14 kills, and 2 entry kills nonetheless. That's a crazy stats for this guy. That's showing a lot of proof for ITB.
He put in a shift, that's for sure. And I'm sure that this man who's about to join us, Kangaroo Kenny, will breathe a sigh of relief. You needed those points, brother.
Yeah, we did.
What's been going wrong recently, and what do you think you managed to turn around here today?
Not a lot's been going wrong. I don't like to, the way I've put it is, I don't want to hit the panic button. I don't want to over-diagnose. Like, we've lost 3 games, 7-5 to the top 3 teams in the table. Like, each game we were close, we're decided by small things. We didn't play bad in those games. We just didn't get a point from them, you know? But a 7-5 loss is the same as a 7-0 loss, really. You know, you don't get any points on the board, that's all that matters. But we didn't play bad. The only game that I think we played bad was the VP game, and then the other game was our only win against Fnatic. So it's not like things have been going wrong. We just haven't had that one extra round in those games to at least go overtime, or, you know, win 7-5 rather than lose 7-5. So we haven't hit the panic button, but we've understood where we need to improve.
Kenny, in terms of needing to improve, obviously your attack win rate will be something that has kind of bothered you, especially, you know, as a coach. What's your assessment on that? Because I suppose from our point of view, we see an ITB in stage 1 that's very fluid, that plays very aggressive, almost direct takes, and then an ITB in stage 2 that's a little bit more reserved, maybe not executing those full clears and, I suppose, quote unquote, conventional attacks as well.
I think you think that because in stage 1, like, we were a very new roster, so we did not have a lot of depth. We had, stage 1, we literally had 1 attack for every site. Like, we formed the roster a month before EUL. You don't have the time to put into depth. So we literally had 1 attack. We decided, okay, we were aggressive. We had the players to use operators that suited directs. But as soon as we've got to international events, obviously having 1 attack, you're going to be counted to high heavens. And that is probably the reason that we were so poor in Manchester, along with our form. And EWC, we played against FaZe and Furia, 2 extremely counter-heavy teams, and they countered us very heavily. So we've understood that we need to form more depth, but of course, forming more depth means you need to change your habits, and it's kind of like taking 1 step back to go 2 steps forward.
Okay, yeah, understood.
Look, changing your habits, winning is definitely a habit, and that is one that you need to find right now. You need to build some momentum. What's the mood like in the camp? Because I know that you guys really thrive when you're winning.
I've aged a lot this stage, to say the least. It's not been easy, and we've all understood it's not been easy, but the good thing about this team is we are resilient. We can come back from things. We've kind of had a long talk, a long discussion after no points last week. Kind of hit a reset button on everything and understood what we need to focus on to be able to get that extra 5%, 10% from the team to get those games 7-5 in our favor rather than 5-7 against us. So we're not scared. At the end of the day, the league doesn't matter unless you make top 6. And even if you don't make top 6, you can make the major through the LCQ.
Still a chance. Yeah.
The league doesn't really matter. It's just a process for us to be able to improve.
I don't think Fresh agrees. I don't think Fresh agrees with that statement.
I don't agree. I do and I don't agree.
The league only matters if you make top 2.
Top 2, yeah.
For us, we've got no chance of making top 2, so top 6 is all that matters.
So if you hit best of 3s, are you saying let's expect, from the viewer's perspective, are we expecting a much improved ITB if you do manage to hit those playoffs in best of 3s?
We'll see.
All right. Kenny?
It's down to us. So if we can do it, then we'll do it. If we can't, then no major.
All right, Kenny, thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck in the rest of the campaign, all right?
Thank you very much, Ian.
Cheers. Listen, I was loving everything he was saying. Mature, calm, collected, until he said the league doesn't matter. You're wrong, Kenny. It matters. And it matters to BDS and VP, who are stepping into the server next.